A reminder that there's a Newsnight by-election special beginning on BBC2 at 12:10, in which Robin Day, David Dimbleby and Peter Snow discuss with leading politicians the results of tonight's two by-elections as they come in. Here on BBC1, we catch up on tomorrow's weather prospects from Jack Scott.
Good evening to you. Well, the weather turned out very much as forecast today, mainly because the features that we forecast were where we thought they'd be. The high pressure still to the east of us, feeding in quite quiet and fine weather over much of the country, and these fronts trailing across the northwestern part of the country, bringing thick cloud and rain from time to time. In fact, that particular front is still giving rain in that northwestern part of Scotland there. Over the next 24 hours, the same two features will be dominating the weather, the high pressure keeping quiet weather going in the south, but tonight there are signs that it's bringing fog as well as fine weather in with it. And as well as this particular front, we've got a depression carrying further fronts up to northwestern parts for tomorrow to bring yet more rain. In fact, the chart for noon tomorrow shows those fronts arriving in the north, and it shows the high pressure still to the southeast of us. So back to tonight's weather and that fog that I told you about, already beginning to form in the south here, some fog in the Midlands as well, and I think from East Wales to the North Midlands and right down to the south of the country here, it looks as though it's going to be a foggy night with patchy fog, but on a fairly widespread scale. There are some areas where the clouds come in and stop the fog from forming, but it isn't to be trusted, and if you're about in the morning in this particular area, watch out for banks of fog. In the far west, it isn't foggy and not likely to be because there's a bank of cloud there, and the cloud, as I said, in the northwest thick enough to give rain, and still those strong winds up in the northwest there, but nowhere else. Although tomorrow the wind will pick up, I think, in the western parts generally, right down the western side of England and Wales as well in the second half of the day. But in this other part of England and Wales, there'll be a fair bit of fog in the morning, slow to clear in some places, but clear it will, I think, and after a grey start, you'll find some sunshine coming through, I think, by the afternoon. Now, in the north, you'll be getting those next fronts coming along and spreading rain eastwards across that northern area, but not into the Lake District and eastern Scotland until the late afternoon. And the outlook, very little changed.
Take one dark night in November, add one adult, a tin box with a lid, and a torch. Mix in a liberal sprinkling of children of various ages and place a few handfuls of well-chosen fireworks all together in the box. Then take out the fireworks one at a time, close the box, and read the instructions carefully using the torch. Light the firework at arm's length, preferably with a safety lighter, and then stand well back and wait. And wait, and wait. Never be tempted to return to examine a dud. It might not be. Add a little sparkle for good measure, and what have you got? The perfect recipe for a safe and happy Guy Fawkes night. It's called the Firework Code, and it's yours free whenever you buy fireworks. Remember, on the 5th of November, follow the Firework Code.
That was a public information film. A look now at programmes for tomorrow night here on 1. Kane saves the mind of a despairing young man in Kung Fu at 7 o'clock. That's followed at 7:50 by the grand final of the 1982 series of It's a Knockout from Italy. The news is at 9 o'clock, and at 9:25, Detective Sergeant John Ho is looking for something to take him away from the normal routine in this week's episode of The Chinese Detective. There are regional programmes at 10:15, and to round off the evening, the late film at 10:50 is A Separate Piece, Linda Pierce's unusual film set in 1942 about the friendship between two young boys at a top American boys' school. The film examines what happens when one of the boys has an unfortunate accident and rumours start to circulate. Programmes for tomorrow night on BBC1. The time now is just after midnight, and we've come to the end of this evening's programmes here on 1. But don't forget that Radio 2 is on the air all night. At the moment, Brian Matthew is presenting Round Midnight. That's followed at 2 o'clock by You and the Night and the Music with Bill Reynolds. But for now, from all of us here on BBC1, this is David Wheel wishing you a very peaceful night. Good night.